Welcome back to Take the Leap Management, the podcast where we explore the essential skills and strategies to help you succeed in leadership, project management, and beyond. Today, we're diving into a critical phase of academic work, specifically for those of you working on a thesis. We'll be talking about doing the analysis and drawing conclusions in a thesis, which is one of the most important and sometimes the most challenging parts of the entire process. So you've gathered all your data, done your research, and you're sitting with a pile of information. Now what? This is where analysis comes in. It's not enough just to collect data. You need to make sense of it, uncover patterns, identify relationships, and ultimately draw conclusions that are well supported and meaningful. This is where the true depth of your work will start to emerge, and it's what will set your thesis apart. When it comes to the analysis, the first thing to remember is that it's not simply a description of the data. It's easy to fall into the trap of simply summarizing what you found. But analysis goes beyond that. You're looking to interpret the data, to explain what it means in the context of your research questions and the broader field of study. The goal is to look at your results critically and identify patterns, trends, or anomalies. This might involve breaking your data down into categories or variables, and then examining how these relate to each other. Depending on your field, this could mean statistical analysis, content analysis, or qualitative coding, but no matter the method, the objective is the same: to draw deeper insights from the data. For example, if you're working in a quantitative field like economics or engineering, your analysis might involve running statistical tests to see whether your findings are significant. You're looking for correlations, trends, or statistical relationships that either support or challenge your hypotheses. But keep in mind, it's not just about running numbers through a formula. You need to interpret those numbers. What do they tell you about the problem you're investigating? Does the data suggest that certain variables are more important than you initially thought? Are there any surprises? Analysis is about moving from raw data to meaningful insights, so make sure you're engaging critically with the results. In a more qualitative thesis, such as one in social sciences or humanities, the analysis might look quite different. Here, you're looking for patterns in the data, maybe themes that come up in interviews, trends in historical documents, or recurring concepts in case studies. The key is to be methodical about it. You might group data into different categories or codes, and then interpret how these categories interact or what they reveal about the bigger picture. For instance, if you're analyzing interview data, your task is to understand what the participants' responses collectively say about the research question. Does a certain theme appear across multiple interviews? What might explain that? Right? You're looking for the underlying meaning behind the data, not just what's immediately obvious on the surface. One of the challenges of analysis is staying objective while still bringing your own insights to the table. You want to interpret the data, but without forcing it to fit your preconceived notions or expectations. This is where critical thinking becomes incredibly important. You have to allow the data to lead you, even if it doesn't take you where you thought it would. Sometimes your analysis will reveal things you hadn't anticipated, and that's okay. In fact, it's often a sign that you're doing good, thorough research. Once you've thoroughly analyzed your data, the next step is to draw conclusions. This is where everything comes together. The conclusions you draw should be based directly on the analysis you've done, meaning that your conclusions need to be supported by the data. A common pitfall is to jump to conclusions that aren't fully grounded in your analysis, but this weakens the validity of your thesis. Your conclusions should naturally flow from the evidence you presented. At this stage, you're answering the question, What does this all mean? You're taking the analysis and showing how it addresses your original research question or hypothesis. Did your research confirm your initial assumptions? Did it challenge them? Maybe it led to an entirely new understanding of the topic. The conclusions are where you bring your critical interpretation to the forefront, showing how your work contributes to the broader field of study. It's also important to recognize the limitations of your findings when drawing conclusions. Every research project has limitations, whether it's the sample size, the scope of the research, or potential biases. Acknowledging these doesn't weaken your conclusions. In fact, it strengthens them. It shows that you're aware of the constraints within which your research operates and that you've thought critically about how these might affect your results. This can also be a good time to suggest areas for future research. If there are questions your study didn't answer, or new questions that emerged from your data, this is where you can point those out. The final step in drawing conclusions is to reflect on the implications of your findings. What does your research mean for the broader field? How does it contribute to the ongoing conversation within your discipline? This is where you move from answering the specific questions of your thesis to considering the wider impact of your work. This might involve suggesting practical applications of your findings, discussing how they challenge existing theories, or proposing new avenues for research. In any case, you want to show that your work has broader significance beyond the specific context of your study. One of the keys to writing effective conclusions is clarity. You need to present your ideas in a clear and concise way, avoiding any unnecessary jargon or overly complicated explanations. The reader should come away from your conclusions with a strong understanding of what you found, why it matters, and how it fits into the larger picture. A well-written conclusion doesn't just summarize the findings, it synthesizes them, showing how they connect and what they mean. In summary, the process of doing the analysis and drawing conclusions in a thesis is all about moving from data to insight. It's not enough to just present what you found. You need to interpret it, explain it, and ultimately show why it matters. Your analysis is where you make sense of the data, and your conclusions are where you demonstrate the value of that analysis. Both parts require critical thinking, clear understanding of your research goals, and the ability to connect your findings to the broader field. Thanks for joining me on Take the Leap Management today. Whether you're in the middle of your thesis, preparing for one, or just interested in how research works, I hope this episode gave you some useful insights into the critical stages of analysis and conclusion. As always, if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe, share, and tune in for more episodes on leadership, project management, and academic success. Until next time, keep analyzing, keep questioning, and keep taking the leap.